So yeah, that's basically what the roadmap is looking like right now. And then do you just kind of want to open it up? If there's anything not on here that we can talk about, some kind of features that you would like to see kind of in the roadmap in general.
I have a very specific thing that I've been asking for 2.5 years since we decided to make, or we now it's only me left, but we decided to make procedurally generated maps on my on just read instructions and
Right.
dots. It's totally possible to do procedural generated content as my game works, and it procedural maps all the time, but it's not an easy sleek thing to do in dots, and partly because like baking is more for big cool maps that is like streamed in from subscenes.
Mm,
So basically v-rising a super good use case for dots and subscenes,
right.
but subscenes, for example, is completely um, irrelevant to me. I have no use for them really, as they are like, but they're a good idea. But I would like to have some sort of a way to just be able to work with content without having subscenes, which means that you would need to, yeah, the asset manager thing
Like
that
pretty
they,
much how it was before 1.0, right? Where we didn't necessarily
yeah,
have to use subscenes.
not necessarily live conversion. I don't know what it would be, but some place where it's, yeah, I shouldn't talk much more about this because I don't even really know how it's gonna, if it should look. But right now,
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not convenient. It's just totally possible, but not convenient, because of how breaking and subscenes work, and it's very rigid in that sense. And I build so many custom stuff on top of that to make my stuff work. So yeah, I would like to have that. I don't know. Maybe I can
Well, yeah,
talk to Danny
on
and
that, like, with subscenes or, an alternative to subscenes, it would be nice because right now you can't do like any cross scene references. So you
yeah.
can't have any like direct references from things in your main scene to things in your sub scene. So, maybe, if there would be some way through an improvement to sub scenes, or again, using an alternative to sub scenes, like something like you had mentioned, that maybe we would be able to reference things in potentially other sub scenes, or the main scene, or just kind of things that exist again, if we are kind of going down this alternate path of using not necessarily sub scenes, just again being able to reference things in the main scene would be very nice.
Yeah, yeah. I think addressables have there's something going on there that might be good for that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And then yeah, for me, I think again, some of the things that we had talked about, I definitely just want to see like improvements to some of the debugging tools, and really just kind of like editor interface things in general, because there's still kind of a lot of frustrating things, just random errors that pop up for no reason, and it would be nice to get a lot of those things kind of ironed out, and again, just like a lot of little quality of life things, like sometimes when I'm typing in a field and I hit tab, it doesn't tab over to the next field. It just kind of goes literally nowhere. It just, I'm like, I don't know what's happening with that. So it would be nice again to clean up some of those issues. One of the kind of random features that I would like to see is the ability to kind of distribute work over time a little bit better. So maybe if we had like 10,000 entities, and we want to be like running operations across all these entities constantly, but they don't necessarily need to be updating every single frame for every single entity. So it would be nice if Unity maybe provided us some kind of tooling that would allow us to kind of distribute work, across the entities over time. So, maybe you could operate on like, one chunk on one frame, another chunk on the next frame, another chunk on the next frame, or kind of, have a little bit of kind of configurability about how you can kind of break those things down a little bit. So you're not, again, iterating through all 10,000 entities every frame, but, over the course of a couple seconds, all the entities kind of do get updated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you thought about this, or maybe it hasn't been something you actually like gone at hard, but you could probably implement an iChunk job and then do modulo on the
Yeah.
chunk index and do a little bit of that, but better tooling for that. Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah,
good point.
exactly. Yeah, it's not something that I've necessarily kind of had a need for, but it's more just like one of those things where I'm like, as I'm thinking about problems in, maybe like kind of the, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 video that I just put up, like I was thinking of like, okay, all these guests, their stats are constantly kind of in flux, but they don't necessarily need to be, updating those every single frame. Like the player wouldn't notice the difference between all those stats being updated every single frame versus them being kind of updated periodically. And of course, there's different ways you could do this with like, timers or, again, making your own implementation, like you were saying with the iJob chunk, kind of, incrementing that index. But again, I do think it would be nice to just have some, out of the box tools where you could like, ideally like literally just put like an attribute on a job or something like that, right?